Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to Nine Our Trees podcast. Today I will summarize and review the book. My Next Breath. A Memoir is Jeremy Renner's account of a life defined by drive, reinvention, and an intense confrontation with mortality. Known worldwide for his film and television work, Renner turns inward to explore the forces that shaped him long before celebrity, including family dynamics, work ethic, and the need to prove himself. The memoir centers on a catastrophic snowplow accident that nearly killed him, using that crisis as a lens to examine identity, gratitude, and what it means to rebuild a body and a future. Rather than functioning as a conventional Hollywood success story, the book emphasizes the quieter, harder work of recovery and the emotional recalibration that follows trauma. Renner's narrative highlights medical realities, the discipline of rehabilitation, and the psychological challenge of accepting help. The result is a portrait of survival that connects personal history to a present-day commitment to purpose, relationships, and a renewed appreciation for ordinary moments. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, origins, ambition, and the making of resilience. A central thread in the memoir is how early life can condition a person to endure extreme pressure. Renner's story is typically framed around determination and self-reliance, developed through family circumstances, work responsibilities, and the desire to create stability. The book positions resilience not as a sudden heroic trait, but as a set of habits built over time, showing up, learning quickly, taking risks, and adapting when plans fail. This background matters because it explains why recovery later becomes more than medical compliance. It becomes an extension of an identity shaped by persistence. Readers can expect reflections on formative relationships and the emotional contradictions that come with chasing a dream, confidence paired with insecurity, gratitude mixed with restlessness, and the need for belonging alongside a fierce independence. The memoir also explores how ambition can be both a life raft and a pressure cooker, pushing someone forward while narrowing their sense of self. By grounding the later crisis in these earlier patterns, the narrative shows that survival is connected to the long practice of coping, problem-solving, and finding meaning in hard work. Secondly, the accident as a turning point and a reality check. The snowplow accident functions as the memoir's pivotal event, described as a sudden rupture that forces an immediate reckoning with fragility. Beyond the shock of the incident itself, the book highlights how quickly everyday life can become a sequence of urgent decisions involving emergency response, trauma care, and uncertainty. This topic is not only about what happened, but about what such an event does to time and perception. In a crisis, minutes and hours become vivid, while the future feels abstract. The memoir uses this turning point to explore vulnerability in a practical sense, dependence on first responders, medical teams, and loved ones, the unpredictability of outcomes, and the mental effort required to stay present. It also examines the emotional aftermath, including fear, disbelief, and the challenge of processing pain while trying to remain hopeful. For readers, the accident is presented as a stark reminder that control is limited, and that identity anchored solely in productivity can be shaken instantly. The narrative draws meaning from this disruption, showing how a near-fatal moment can reset priorities and expose what truly matters when everything else falls away. Thirdly, recovery, rehabilitation, and rebuilding a life step by step. The memoir devotes significant attention to the long arc of recovery, emphasizing that survival is only the beginning. Rehabilitation is portrayed as a demanding, repetitive process involving physical therapy, medical follow-ups, and incremental milestones that can feel both inspiring and exhausting. Renner's experience underscores that progress is rarely linear. Setbacks, pain, and frustration often arrive alongside small wins, requiring patience and a disciplined mindset. The book also highlights the psychological labor of recovery, accepting limitations without surrendering hope, learning to ask for help, and navigating the tension between pushing hard and respecting the body's boundaries. Another important element is how recovery changes relationships and routines. Dependence can reshape family roles and expose areas where pride or fear complicate communication. The narrative suggests that healing is not just a clinical project, but a whole-life redesign, touching sleep, nutrition, movement, and daily structure. For readers, this topic offers a grounded picture of resilience as practice rather than inspiration. It shows how consistent effort, support systems, and mental reframing can turn an overwhelming challenge into a sequence of achievable steps, ultimately restoring agency and a renewed sense of possibility. Fourthly, relationships, gratitude, and the power of community. Another major focus is the network of people surrounding a crisis and what it reveals about love, responsibility, and humility. The memoir describes how family, friends, colleagues, and medical professionals can become a lifeline, providing practical care and emotional steadiness when the individual cannot. This topic explores the shift from independence to interdependence, including the discomfort that can come with receiving help. Gratitude emerges not as a vague sentiment, but as a daily orientation shaped by witnessing others show up consistently. The book highlights how community support can be both energizing and complicated, especially when public attention intersects with private suffering. Readers can expect reflections on presence, who stays, who steps forward unexpectedly, and how trust is built through action. The narrative also points to the idea that relationships are strengthened through honesty about fear and need, rather than through maintaining a performance of toughness. This section of the book resonates because it frames recovery as a collective achievement, not a solo victory. It suggests that one of the most meaningful outcomes of trauma can be a clearer understanding of connection and a commitment to express care more directly, make amends where necessary, and prioritize the people who provide stability and purpose. Lastly, redefining purpose, identity, and what comes next. As the memoir moves beyond the immediate medical crisis, it concentrates on the question of who a person becomes after a life-altering event. Renner's story examines how identity can be rebuilt when familiar markers like physical capability, routine, or professional momentum are disrupted. The book frames purpose as something that must be consciously chosen, not assumed. That can involve returning to work, but it also includes deeper shifts, clarifying values, setting boundaries, and recognizing what deserves time and attention. The narrative explores the mental transition from survival mode to a sustainable way of living, where goals remain important but are no longer tied to proving worth. Readers are likely to find reflections on meaning-making, including how gratitude can coexist with grief for what was lost. The memoir emphasizes that a second chance is not automatically uplifting. It can create pressure to live perfectly or to justify survival. This topic addresses that tension by suggesting a more realistic approach: commit to daily intention, allow imperfections, and keep moving forward with compassion. Ultimately, the book presents the future as an open project shaped by choices, relationships, and a renewed respect for life's uncertainty. In conclusion, this memoir is best suited for readers who value real-world stories of perseverance, including fans of Jeremy Renner, people recovering from injury or illness, and anyone navigating a major life reset. It also fits readers who enjoy celebrity memoirs that prioritize vulnerability and personal transformation over glamour. The book can benefit a reader's life by offering a practical emotional template for moving through crisis, focus on the next manageable step, accept support without shame, and rebuild identity around values rather than appearances. Its attention to rehabilitation and mindset can help readers rethink how progress actually happens, especially when motivation fades and the work becomes repetitive. Compared to similar memoirs, the value here lies in the specificity of the turning point and the sustained focus on what recovery demands physically and psychologically. It is less about curated success and more about the unglamorous mechanics of healing, gratitude, and responsibility to the people who stand beside you. That combination makes it worth buying for readers seeking both inspiration and honesty, with a narrative that highlights how a life can be reshaped through discipline, community, and a renewed sense of purpose. If you would like to support Jeremy Renner, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.